How goes it, ladies and gentlemen? This is Jeff Benjamin with 9 to 5 Mac. In this video, we're going to be looking at the iPhone 8 and we're going to be looking at the iPhone 8 Plus. Now, this isn't your traditional video review. As we've done in the past with previous iPhone releases, we're going to be looking at some of the top features from the iPhone 8 and iPhone 8 Plus. And it's not going to be just a rundown of the top features, but we're also going to look at some of the features that aren't so good. And my goal is to show you why these features are good or why they are not. But the main thing that I took away from this test is that although the iPhone 7 and the iPhone 8 look very similar, the iPhone 8 is actually a pretty significant upgrade, and an upgrade that I think a lot of people should consider. Now, that said, I do realize that the iPhone 10 is looming large on the horizon, and we will talk about that a little bit as well. But this is all about the iPhone 8, and at the end of this video, I think you'll probably agree with me that this is an awesome update. 15 great iPhone 8 features. Let's start with the glass back, one of the most obvious physical changes to the iPhone 8 when compared to the iPhone 7. Now, of course, glass backs are nothing new for Apple. The iPhone 4 and the iPhone 4S both had glass backs, and honestly, those were some of my favorite iPhones as far as design is concerned. Now, I know the iPhone 8 is basically the same design as the iPhone 6, but the addition of that glass back makes it seem a little more modern. Now, you're definitely not going to see me drop my phone on camera, but there are plenty of YouTubers that are willing to accommodate you. But Apple does say that this is the most durable glass ever in a smartphone. In fact, they worked directly with Corning to create something even stronger than Gorilla Glass 5. Now, although there are new space gray and silver finishes for the iPhone 8, I think most will agree that the standout finish for this generation is the new gold finish. It's not as gaudy as the old gold, and it's not as pink as rose gold. Apple's A11 Bionic Processor truly lives up to its name. Look at the difference between the iPhone 7 Plus on the left and the iPhone 8 Plus on the right. Look at that multi-core score. Now compare that with my 2017 5K iMac that just launched this past June. Crazy, right? Major props to Apple's in-house chip designers. Speaking of in-house chip design, Apple for the very first time with the iPhone 8 designed its own in-house GPU. 30% faster than the A10 and more power conscious to boot. So here is the iPhone 7 compute score compared with the iPhone 8 compute score. Now you'll really start seeing benefits from this when games and apps are launched that support the new Metal 2 API. Look for more details on that soon. The iPhone 8 got 25% louder speakers with better low-end response. And you can see the waveform differences. The left is the iPhone 7, the right is the iPhone 8. Let's listen in. Now, for those of you who have been keeping up with our videos, you know I'm crazy about the True Tone display on the iPad Pro. And for the first time, it comes to the iPhone. Now, True Tone will automatically adjust your iPhone's display based on the ambient lighting around you. This provides consistent colors and a better overall reading experience. This is with True Tone on, and this is with True Tone disabled. Notice the screen is a little cooler in this example. Now, True Tone is great to have on the iPhone, no doubt, but it definitely makes a bigger difference on the large iPad Pro. Now, just a little side point, if you enjoy these videos, go ahead and subscribe and also click that notification button to join the notification squad for 9 to 5 Mac. Now, on the iPhone 8, you're going to notice haptic feedback whenever you press the shutter button in the camera app. This is a new feature that's iPhone 8 only, so you can actually feel when you successfully press the shutter button, and it also works with the physical shutter button using the volume keys on your phone. But it's not just about the haptic feedback, there's also significantly reduced shutter lag, so you can take more photos with an iPhone 8 than you can with an iPhone 7 in the same span of time. The Quad LED True Tone Flash gets an additional feature on the iPhone 8 called Slow Sync. And this combines a slow shutter speed with a short strobe pulse. And this results in significantly better looking low light photos when using the flash. So I'm going to take a photo. This is my iPhone 7, by the way. I'm going to take a photo with the flash on my iPhone 7. And I want you just to see how it looks. Not great, right? The foreground subject's obviously well lit, but the background is completely dark. So now let's try the same test with the iPhone 8. You can already tell there's better lighting thanks to the larger 12 megapixel sensor. But let's look at these low light photos with the flash enabled. Let's check it out. Bam! That looks much better. You get a properly exposed background and a well lit foreground as well. So here it is, folks, up close and personal, the iPhone 7 and the iPhone 8. No comparison when it comes to low light photos with that flash enabled. Now the iPhone 8 is arguably one of the best video cameras out that you can buy right now, because you not only get now 4K at 24 frames per second, which a lot of videographers like to use, gives you that nice film look. You know, previously you would have to go out to the App Store and purchase a third-party app to enable 4K video at 24 frames per second. Now it's native within the stock camera app, and that is a very great thing. Videographers love to use that 24 frames per second to pull off that natural film look. But honestly, the big deal this time around is 4K at 60 frames per second. You do realize that most high-end consumer cameras can't even do that, right? I mean, the GH5 does it, but most cameras in that price range do not do 4K at 60 frames per second internally, but the iPhone 8 does, and it's crazy. Now, unfortunately, this video is shot at 24 frames per second, so you really can't see the effect of 60 frames per second, but if you click the link right here in the upper right-hand corner, you can see this video at 60 frames per second. But Apple didn't stop there. There's also support for 1080p Full HD at 240 frames per second. Yeah, Full HD 240 frames per second for silky smooth slow motion. That's why I say that the iPhone 8 is one of the best video cameras you can get right now, especially considering its price. So let's look at some slow motion video. This is 1080p, upscaled obviously to 4K at 240 frames per second, and it's silky smooth. Let's do the obligatory water splash. There we go. That's crazy, right? The optical image stabilization on the iPhone 7 and 7 Plus was already really good. This is totally handheld footage, just walking around, moving up and down. Alright, now let's compare the iPhone 8. Same handheld footage. I think the iPhone 8 Plus presents some noticeably more stable video. It's not drastically more stable, but it is noticeably. Where I think you're also going to notice this is with handheld photos. So when just shooting a photo handheld with no sort of stabilizer, you're going to get obviously better low light shots because that larger sensor, but the stability also comes into play as well, so that shutter speed can drop, provide you with better light, but you still get a crispy clear photo. For the iPhone 8 Plus, Apple has enhanced the shallow depth of field effect portrait mode feature that first debuted with the iPhone 7 Plus. Now, you get dynamic studio lighting effects using one of 5 different lighting styles, and Apple is calling this portrait lighting. And the great thing about portrait lighting is that the effect is non-destructive, hence you can go in post and add or change the lighting style or remove it altogether. Now, this is arguably one of the flagship features for the iPhone 8 Plus, and it's something that obviously differentiates it from the iPhone 8. Just keep in mind that portrait lighting is in beta, so it's not perfect. We'll talk about that a little bit later as one of our 5 not so good things. And then we have wireless charging, something that has been a long time coming for the iPhone. It's finally here. Now you can find Mophie's wireless charger on the Apple Store. I think Belkin also makes one that Apple is selling in their store, and it works. Although there are some caveats to consider, which we'll talk about in a second. And then lastly, there is support for fast charging. Another finally, right? If you purchase Apple's 29-watt USB-C adapter along with a USB-C to Lightning cable, you'll notice that the iPhone 8 supports faster charging speeds. Now let's talk about 5 not so good features. I was hoping I wouldn't have to bring this up again, but yes, it's 2017, and Apple is still including the stupid slow 5-watt adapter inside the box. Doesn't make any sense. And although wireless charging is here, and it's nice to have, it's still just as slow as the stupid 5-watt adapter, if not slower. Thankfully, there will be a free iOS update in the future that allows for faster 7.5-watt wireless charging. And then, let's not ignore it. This is the same basic design as the iPhone 6 that came out back in 2014. Yeah, we have the new glass back and that is nice, but this is still basically the same phone as the iPhone 6. So just from a pure change perspective, you can see why the iPhone 10 design is so appealing. And then there's portrait lighting, which I did establish is in beta, right? So it's not fully baked yet. However, Apple still shipped it and promoted it as a feature, and I've noticed that it can be pretty ugly at times depending on your shot. And then probably the biggest not so good thing is the fact that the iPhone 10 exists. I know there are people that hate the so-called notch, but it's a brand new iPhone design, something we haven't seen in several years. So ladies and gentlemen, this is the iPhone 8 and iPhone 8 Plus. These are excellent phones. I think anyone who buys one of these is going to be largely satisfied, especially if you're an avid photographer or if you're a videographer. The camera features alone are worth the price of admission, in my opinion. And remember that this phone shares the same processor with the iPhone 10. So they're virtually one and the same when it comes to power. So keep that in mind. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. This is Jeff with 9to5 Mac.